know that you can hear me okay and see my screen, that would be fantastic. I want to make sure everything is working. So just give me a thumbs up, or you could put in the chat like, yes, all good, or anything else. And if you can't hear me, then you won't know that I'm saying this. So let me just go ahead and put this in here. Let me know if you all can hear me okay and see my slides. Okay. All right, everyone. Good. I got the thumbs up. And sometimes I know we have to find where those things are because this is a different system. I totally understand. So let's get the recording started and we will dive in. Okay, so thank you all for being here today. Whether you are a Georgia State alum or a friend of Create Your Career Path, we're excited to be here with you today to talk about a really important topic. I feel like emotional intelligence in the workplace has always been really important, but especially when times are touchy. With the war going on, people are concerned about the economy. Layoffs were happening earlier this year. People can just get understandably a little more tense and stressed, and emotional intelligence is that much more important when we're experiencing things and times like this, because we want to communicate as effectively with people as we possibly can. So I'm a certified career coach. I've been coaching and training since 2002. My running joke is I'm sort of able to cover the gray hair still a little bit, but it may not be that way forever. I am actually my company is based in Atlanta, Georgia. But we have a fantastic team of coaches and resume writers that are in different parts of the country. I have an undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt and a master's degree from the University of Illinois. And I've been partnered with Georgia State for, at least over like 5 to 7 years now. So very proud partner there, and actually don't live too far from it. So welcome everyone, whether you're a Georgia State alum or a friend of our organization. One of the things that I wanted to share up front as we start to dive in today is a quick reminder that we are recording today and you will receive a copy of that automatically. We are also going to send you our slides. So both will be sent to your email. Please keep an eye out for that. It usually happens within the first 24 hours. Let me know if you have any issues finding the links or issues with them. But we like to say this up front because we would love it if you could say to yourself, okay, I can revisit everything later. Let me choose one action step that makes the most sense for me related to emotional intelligence based on what's going on for you in your professional life, etc. So at the end, we would love it if you would write down one action step that you will take in the next week. I know we've got a holiday coming up, but to start working on this. This is baby steps. This is not like it happens overnight. But what we find, just by the way, and I'll move to this next slide really quickly, is that small changes and implementing small, even action steps can actually reap very big results with emotional intelligence. So the 3 tools we're going to teach you today, even if you start with one of them and stick your toe in the water with it, you're going to notice a big difference right out of the box. So let's talk on these next couple of slides about why emotional intelligence is important. We talked about it already just a second ago, but if you look at these statistics on this slide, when I was first starting to present on this topic years and years ago, I was actually shocked by these stats that so often difficulties in the workplace come from communication issues or relationship issues, not from people not knowing what they're doing. Of course, there's sometimes that is the case, but 60 to 80% of the time, it's relationship issues. And if you look at the bottom left-hand side, a typical manager can spend a ton of time dealing with workplace issues. And this is why EI is so important, because it helps reduce these problems. It doesn't mean that we're going to prevent them every time. These things are going to happen. Challenges are going to occur. Miscommunications are going to occur. But the better we get with our emotional intelligence, the better we will be able to preempt those, but also manage them more effectively. And as I said earlier, people are just under more stress these days with higher gas prices, just everything that's going on in the world. Sometimes they can feel disconnected if, for example, they're working solely hybrid or remote. So there's just lots of things going on, and emotional intelligence is so much more important, I think, these days, more than ever, also because we're in such a global economy as well, and we're working with people all over the place, different time zones, depending on your situation, of course. So the final reason why this is really important, and then we'll look at our agenda slide on this next one, is if you take a look at our ideal career model, this is the model we use with all of our clients to help them create the right career goals for themselves. Know if they're in the right career path in the first place. This serves as a checklist. Are all of these boxes checked at your current job and in your current career path? But it's also what we use to help people set up the right career goals for themselves professionally, and know, okay, what do I need to include in my strategic career plan? And if you look over here, one of the elements, I think, as we all already know, it's a make or break, not just for your career satisfaction, but for your success. I can't tell you how many people have come to us and said, I love so much about my company, my organization, whatever, but the team that I'm in is difficult, or difficult boss, or whatever's going on. So whatever role you play within your organization, we want you to play a positive part in that work environment, because it makes a huge difference for you as well as everybody else. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today in the next 20 something minutes. What is emotional intelligence? Quick overview there. 3 foundational coaching tools that you can implement actually right away, because they're easy and simple to start working on, that will help with your emotional intelligence enormously. We'll give you resources along the way. And just as a quick reminder, we will put some things in the chat box. We don't do Q&A during these short sessions because we're focusing on content. But do me a favor, you'll see here where the chat box is. I'm going to put some resources in there as we progress and as we go today. So first, let's talk about emotional intelligence. This has been around for eons. We've all heard about it. You've probably heard this kind of concept batted around in general. It's EQ or EI. You can call or use either acronym. But if you look at this next slide, Daniel Goleman was kind of the father or founder of emotional intelligence. This is a book on the screen that we actually really like and suggest to our clients. But if you look at the definition here, it's basically being able to manage and understand your emotions in order to communicate more positively, empathize with other people, overcome challenges, deal with stress, conflict, all of these other things. So at the end of the day, it's being self-aware enough to do what you need to do to be effective. And if you look at the second line here, emotional intelligence will help you build stronger relationships at work and help you achieve your career goals, because you're demonstrating that you have these leadership capabilities. And it helps you manage and understand what's going on with your emotions in any given time, especially if they're extreme in that moment, but turn your intentions into action in the right way and make more informed, like intelligent decisions about what works for you and what matters most to you and your team. Okay. So it's that emotional side of things that drives the practical side in a positive direction. So you're steering the boat in the right direction. And if you look at this next slide, there are 2 elements, if you will, or 2 kind of categories, I should say, on this slide for emotional intelligence. Number 1 is on the left side, those practical elements. And these are actually related to or impact emotional intelligence: showing up on time, getting your work done, being reliable, all of that those practical considerations that are really important, because they will impact your work relationships if you are doing these or not. But then there's the emotional side of it on the right, or the bottom here as well. It's feeling respected, being a good listener, networking with other people, building a bond, lots of different things there that help you connect with your coworkers in a positive way so you can work together more effectively. So those are two categories that all of the types of emotional intelligence kind of fall into. And there's 4 elements of it. So one of the things you could do after our session today is when you grab the slides, you can print this out and start to say, okay, how well am I doing in each of these 4 elements? Number 1, how self-aware am I? Can I tell if something's not as it seems? Do I know how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling a certain way and what to do with those emotions in a productive sense? Do I understand what my communication style is and even my nonverbal communication and how that impacts other people in a positive or negative way? The second one to kind of check yourself on is self-management. How well do I manage my emotions, the positive and negative ones? Do I know when to ask for help? Am I able to stay calm when needed? The third one is this sense of social awareness. Do I have a sense of my impact on other people? If I'm, for example, making them comfortable or uncomfortable, am I aware and do I have the intuition, if you will, to understand when someone is saying one thing but means something else? So the self-awareness is the internal piece, obviously, but then the social awareness, do I have a sense of like the vibe and what's going on within my organization and within my team? And then finally, relationship management. Am I good at listening? Am I able to empathize with other people? Ask them good questions. Am I open to feedback? Do I gather feedback? Am I able to manage and deal with conflict? So good thing to do here is to pop this out, like print it out, whatever makes sense for you, and do a quick quiz, like scale of 1 to 5. How well do I do with each of these elements? Because this can give you a sense of where you need to start first. As we said earlier, it's not flip a switch and suddenly you're perfect with this. Remember, it takes about 90 days to develop a new habit. So give yourself some time here. Now, the reason why emotional intelligence is so important is because it helps create these 6 things on the left-hand side. They kind of go hand in hand, if you will. So emotional intelligence helps build trust, empathy, enables people to be more honest and vice versa. You're creating an effective feedback loop, sense of understanding of other people, and listening skills. And the reason why all of these are so important is because when you are leveraging emotional intelligence tools and strengths and skills, these things are going to naturally increase and improve over time and vice versa. And what we find is that some of the most common obstacles to people's emotional intelligence, me included, like I'm not saying I'm perfect at this either. This is something that I think we're all going to be working on, is sometimes it can be, especially in a really tough situation, something we're really frustrated with, etc. There's that difficulty that we can all have sometimes about regulating our emotions or even identifying what they are and why they've come up. Sometimes our clients will tell us, I don't always understand how to communicate effectively in certain situations, whether they're conflict or not. And I get that too. And then other clients will tell us that they struggle with reading certain situations. So all of these tools that we're going to talk about, and if you feel like popping into the poll, which obstacle most applies to you, this would be great. This is kind of your second quick quiz that you can ask yourself so that you know where, again, you struggle the most or stumble, so that, again, you can figure out, okay, this is where I need to focus the most time. So the 3 tools we want to focus on for today, there are more that we teach our clients over time and go deeper into each of these based on certain situations too. Number 1 is creating an agreement with people. Number 2 is empathetic listening. And number 3 is curiosity. So let's talk about each of these. So number 1, one of the things that we teach our clients is how to create an effective working agreement regarding your relationship with each person on your team. And this can also be a team charter with your entire team as well. The things that you can include in this agreement, and this could be just, by the way, a one-time formal discussion or kind of an informal discussion over time. But you want to be talking about in your agreement things like, how do we communicate? What's relevant for email versus Slack versus in person? What kinds of tasks are we needing to perform on a regular basis, and how can we do so more effectively? When and how often and how should we be meeting? So creating structure to your relationships, but talking about how to work together more effectively can be really, really powerful. The second thing that you can talk about is making sure everyone's clear on their role. Role clarity can cause, or non-clarity, if you will, confusion, can cause a lot of difficulty within an organization and within a team. You can also, in your agreement, talk about how to handle conflict, feedback, etc. When you have this conversation with someone, whether it's, again, informal or formal over time, ask their opinion, because then you're gathering their thoughts as well, and you're empowering them to be responsible for the results too. And questions you can ask them over time are, how can we work together more effectively? How can we get through this project more collaboratively or in a positive way? What are some of our thoughts? As part of your agreement, talk about those objectives and tasks and goals. Make sure everybody's on the same page. We talked about roles already, but also talk about milestones. How do we know we're making progress in our project? And let's talk up front about challenges that you've encountered in the past and may encounter in the future, and how are we going to deal with those up front? Remember that with communication, some people are more introverted than extroverted, and they don't want you to just come right into their office and like share something. Other people might be more okay with that. So the reason why we create either a team charter or even just a one-on-one agreement with someone that we work with, we're creating rules and structure for how we work together more effectively, so that you're not just doing the work, but you're talking about how you're doing it so that it can be more effective over time. Now, if we have to handle a touchy situation, these are the things that we want to pay attention to on this next slide. And these are more emotionally intelligent ways to deal with this. You set the tone of the conversation before you start. Say, please know I'm coming from a positive place here, and my intention is for us to work together more effectively. Is it okay right now if we talk about something that might be a little touchy to hear, but I feel like I need to share something with you or ask a few questions? Ask that permission, because then their defenses are dropped. They've signaled agreement to this, etc. And obviously, if you are sharing something with them, let them talk afterwards and kind of share. So with touchy conversations, there's a way to handle them more effectively. And your body language, if you look on the right-hand side, is really important. That eye contact, making sure that you're demonstrating that you're really listening and that you care. You want to hear about their opinion as well. So bottom line, handling touchy conversations or difficult feedback can be part of what you discuss in an agreement. And when you discuss this, when an agreement isn't going on, you're much more able to be calm and come up with those agreements and deal with it. And then when something difficult does come up, you can point back to that and say, we talked about handling it this way. Can we go ahead and implement that? The reason why we like this agreement, and then we'll talk about empathetic listening, is it empowers each person to take responsibility and ownership for the relationship. It establishes clear boundaries so that there's a quote unquote safer space for you all to work together, but like adjust for each person's differences and their needs, and also handle honest feedback. And by the way, third thing on the bottom right here, it's creating those ground rules for clarity. But we want you to make sure that you update this on a regular basis, whether it's quarterly, whether you're designing a new team, you've got a new project, etc. Make sure that you keep it up to date. Don't just let it sit there static. But in the first place, just starting to talk about this, even informally, is a fantastic, good first step for your emotional intelligence. Let's talk about tool number 2. And this is what we call empathetic listening. Now, I know you've probably heard before, yes, active listening, heard this ad nauseum. I get it. We know that everything in the workplace involves communication. What you wear communicates about who you are, what's important to you, the type of person that you are. So everything is communicating to a certain extent. And two-way communication obviously is critical, but not everyone knows how to really genuinely, in a deeper way, not just how to listen, but express empathy and show that understanding. So as coaches, we teach our clients 3 levels of listening to just go a little bit deeper with things. And this would also be a good place to kind of bookmark and say, okay, let me evaluate how well I do with this second and third level of listening, because this is where we want you to be more often. So the 3 levels of listening, level 1 is that internal listening. We all need it. We're hungry. This meeting is boring. This involves self-care. But we need to also pay attention to what we all do when instead of really listening to the person, we're preparing our answer and not paying attention actually to what they're saying. Number 2 is really focusing on the other person, actually listening to what they're saying, but also paying attention to their nonverbal communication. Does it seem like they're saying one thing, but they mean another? Something, like that, and really paying attention to what's going on. And level 3 listening within your team and with one-on-one as well is this sense of global listening. What's the energy in the room? What's really going on that I might need to bring up or address in order to get through something or make sure we're working together effectively? In order to do this, be quieter. Really let the other person talk for an extra couple of seconds. Slow down your thoughts and your talking points sometimes too. Don't step over things that people say, because what if they say something and in a rush, you miss it and then it comes up later on as a bigger problem. It's okay sometimes to interrupt people and say, oh, do you mind if we touch on that a little bit further or go deeper with that? And in some cases with this global listening, what we want to do is ask a question rather than give advice. Really good active listening exercise. Talk with a close friend or family member or coworker, whatever is appropriate for your situation, and practice in a couple of conversations in the next week, only sometimes paraphrasing what they're saying, not asking any questions and not even giving advice. And then in a second step with the exercise, maybe in a separate conversation, you're only allowed to ask questions and not give advice. Now, I know we're busy. I'm not saying do this in every single conversation. We won't have time for that. But to practice this and develop that tool or that muscle, if you will, of asking really good questions and really listening to another person to understand where they're coming from. Remember, understanding is not always signaling agreement. It's empathizing, which is different from agreement. But practicing with this muscle can help enormously and shift and change the dynamic of so many of your relationships if you just do this a little bit more. Now, this next slide has the 4 needs of followers. This is from the Gallup organization. They own the Gallup poll, but also the StrengthsFinder assessment. And this is something that we share with our clients because it's something that every person, or each of these 4 elements, if you will, every person who works at an organization, they need to have these needs met to a certain extent. A sense of trust in their organization, their leaders, etc. A sense of stability and that they've got support from their boss and their teammates. A sense of compassion, at least to a certain extent. People care about my well-being, etc. And a sense of hope, like I believe in where my organization is going, etc. And you can do a ton of different things with this model. You can evaluate where your needs are being met versus where they are not and what you may need to do or ask for help with there. You can use this to understand how some of your relationships are positive because all of these foundational things are in place versus where can I boost this up within my team or within a relationship? Because this can help you understand where things may not be going as well or what could be improved. And the bottom line here is understanding these will help you get what you need, but also help you think about how can I improve my relationships with other people by helping establish these 4 foundational needs. Now, we're not saying you're responsible for everyone else's needs, but just paying attention to these a little bit more can be a huge first step. When we're thinking about our emotional intelligence and self-awareness, let's start to talk about this a little bit more. One of those 4 elements. One of the exercises or action steps you could take is to do some quick journaling at the end of the day for a week, just to see highs and lows. What are my patterns and trends during the course of the workday? You can do an after action review with yourself, but also with your team. What went well, what didn't go well on certain projects, etc. And in order to do a better job with your self-management, think on things overnight. Practice self-care, emulate other people in your organization who are really respected, etc. So there's lots of things on this list too, if there are certain things self-management wise that you need to be working on as well. Just by the way, we always offer a free consult to people who feel like, if you feel like you need a little bit more help with this, this is why we're here. This is what we do with our clients all day long. There is a discount code that we give to people who are either GSU alum, but also people who attend our webinars like this. You can use the code there. If you would like to schedule a consult with me, I'd be happy to talk with you about whether working with us is the right fit for you or not. You can use the QR code for that. And I also just put a link inside the chat box as well. So as we start to get to the end of our time today, let's talk about my favorite tool, and this is the tool of curiosity. We teach our clients to use powerful questions with their coworkers to empower their coworkers to come up with their own answers sometimes, to take responsibility for things, to dig deeper with certain situations. The deal with powerful questions is the right-hand side here. They are curious. There's no judgment in them, and they are open-ended. They don't allow for a yes or no answer, and this is why we love them, because it encourages conversation and deeper self-reflection. And they also assume a positive outcome, which we love too. Take a look at the left-hand side here. These are some examples. How can we handle this effectively? Let's come up with some, kind of ground rules or guidelines. It assumes positive intent and that it's going to work. It's not if we can, but there's also not yes or no. It's very open-ended and juicy. So practicing even with powerful questions in the next week, open-ended questions to pull information about or from people, a little bit more, sorry about the dog, can help you develop deeper relationships with other people, demonstrates emotional intelligence, and strengthens communication within your organization. By the way, powerful questions can be information gathering or curious. One might be just gathering information. One might be more thought-provoking to brainstorm ideas, come up with solutions together. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, kind of the formula, if you will, or ways to handle touchy situations and conversations. You always want to make sure, in addition to asking permissions, setting the tone and stage, showing understanding to the other person at all times, stating those facts, and offering a resolution. So self-care is really important to improve your emotional intelligence. So we're going to end on this slide today. We'll have a couple more slides just to announce our next webinar, etc. But remember that the foundation of emotional intelligence is taking care of yourself so that you can be self-aware in the first place. Whether that's making sure you exercise, doing daily check-ins, diets, get support from a friend or family member, whatever you need to do, this is the first thing. It's like put on your own oxygen mask first, right? Like the airlines say. So we really appreciate your time today. Just FYI, our next webinar is 3 steps to finding a job you love. Take a look in the chat box there, or you can use this link, the QR code to register. If you are already on our newsletter list, you will get notified about this, so you can just keep an eye on your email. And we've got a great Design Your Ideal Career workshop coming up on September 9th for anyone that you know who might need help steering their career in the right direction. Please, as we close today, make sure that you write down one action step that you will take away from today and implement in the next week. And if you reply to any of the emails that we have sent you, I will see these. I would love for you all to email me your action steps so I can take a look at those. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. We greatly appreciate your time and hope this was helpful for you as a starting point.